got busted by Terry Reed. And went to court, and the judge called him up point blank and out loud. He now runs FEMA in Texas.
Well.
Okay, Raymond Buddy Young. Raymond Buddy Young is a CIA operative. So quite naturally, as well as Bill Clinton, I might add, he has long CIA connections, as well as Hillary, I might add, who also has CIA connections. And these people, I don't know about you, but just the things that I've been able to learn about these people in the last 6 months just absolutely scares me to death. She is, in fact, a part of the New Age movement. Clinton religion basically lies between his navel and his kneecaps. That's his religion. He has no religious preference unless it's a brunette, you know. But I'm telling you, these people, we have found people skiing, running into trees, killing themselves. We have found people having one-car accidents. No one knows what made the car go off the road. We have found people
getting hit by planes and helicopters.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Did y'all hear that? We have found people getting killed who are part of joint military exercises, if you will, whose helicopters just accidentally run into each other and kill 14 or 15 people on the ground.
Although all of the helicopters land.
That's right. That's right. And we subsequently find out that one of the major people who was killed was a higher-up in the operations of Mena, Arkansas. We find people who are doing autopsies on people who subsequently die from fumes and their blood begins to crystallize. We find these people, like the coroner who was doing the autopsy on the body.
A woman.
A woman subsequently shooting herself in the face, committing suicide. But we know that there was an eradication spraying program of malathion gas. That's right. Over California, in that very same area, to so-called eradicate the Mediterranean fruit fly. They call them niggers in South Central.
That's right.
2 days, niggers and flies. That's right. Y'all heard those sayings.
Y'all see the black helicopters flying now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
That's the largest security firm in the country, Wackenhut.
That's right.
They guard all the nuclear facilities. They guard the military facilities. And they're the ones who are flying these black helicopters. And remember that so-called mystery virus that was killing the Navajo people?
Yeah.
That's right.
Spraying like up in places like South Dakota, spraying for mosquitoes in South Dakota.
That's right.
There ain't no mosquitoes up there.
As a matter of fact, brother, those black helicopters, in fact, come under the auspices of the multi-jurisdictional task force.
Well,
fencing, all this stuff is together.
Look, y'all, I mean, they got a plan. They got a plan. There's no doubt they got a plan. And they're moving in full effect to enact that plan. What we need to do is get into a serious information exchange. You know, Huey P. Newton used to always talk about this. The revolutionary will have no place to run if the people don't know what the revolutionary is fighting for.
That's right.
And so, you see all these big-time leaders, and what they want you to do is drop $10 in the purse and come back the next time they speak. But they never give you no information that you can go out and actually apply on your own.
Check this before I come to you, brother, and then I'll let y'all go ahead. Check this just to tie in, just to back up what Mbanna just said. Look, back in the early part of 1990, approximately 3,000 rotary aircraft were withdrawn from our strategic reserve. Oh, by the way, this is again from Nexus, February-March 1994. Check this. These are not from the reserve or guard. These came from the mothball fleet. These units were transferred to fencing and painted in flat black. Right. Now look, y'all remember when the Chicago Bulls won the NBA championship? The last one. And I do mean the last one. Okay. Before MJ burned the government. That's right. That's right. But one of the interesting things that happened is that night, remember all the gunfire that erupted? Yeah. And the police went in the neighborhood, they put out the lights. But one of the things that we know, Brother Mbanna, is that the black helicopters were flying around in the black community during that time. They were.
myself, I'd like to know who initially broke the reporter's arms. Was it Mr. Reno first?
Mr. Reno, right?
Now, we got the book on that. Who broke the reporter's arms? Was it Mr. Reno?
Broke the reporter book?
The arms. When you said,
Right.
That's an aspect of it. And can someone expound on today's article that was in the Sun Times concerning what Mr. Pontificus Maximus said about the year 2000 and also the secret meeting of the Dalai Lama last month and some of the Yiddish.
The Dalai Lama bowed down and kissed the Wailing Wall. I have a picture of it.
What is keep
And he put a yarmulke on the back of his head.
That's right.
I thought that was, man. Listen,
You don't want to be a goyim.
see, this is why. This is why it's important to understand the moves that certain people are making, such that you can understand that when the minister, and I'm talking about Farrakhan, goes down to the World Council on Religions, which has as its main or primary proponent the putting in place of a one world religion, then why is it that Farrakhan would then participate in something like that, come out here and act as the police in public housing? When I went to him in 1987, stood in the final call, told him that I thought his message was the correct one. However, I think that the people need to hear this message from you personally. He had me stand to the side and went up into a 45-minute dialogue about how right I was, subsequently saying that he in fact would go out here to public housing.
I got to ask a question, though. In the new life in Rockwell Gardens,
You mean Jew life?
do a new life. Get no argument out of it. Live and correct, right? Well, hasn't Rockwell been under offense since '88? Haven't the residents been using retina eyeball cards since '88?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to submit to you right now, and Brother Mwatta pointed this out too, and he can talk on it more. But the whole purpose of that move into Rockwell Gardens is that ultimately the hands will go up and say, we can't do nothing with it.
That's right.
It might as well bring the National Guard.
That's right.
Because then, I'm going to tell you right now, if that neighborhood's been under fence since '88 and it ain't in check already, they ain't intending for it to be.
That's right.
And this is just another move.
Brother, provide political cover, brother. What the white boys say, you know, when you want to do something, you know, you can't just go right out and do it. You get somebody else to come around the other side and provide what they say is cover. Right. Meaning that when you come in, it's like people, oh, please save us, Mr. White Man. You know, so when they come in with the guns, kicking down doors, kicking ass, shooting people, you know, it's like you asked for it. And I mean, if you want to see a precedent of this, take a look at the book, Was Jonestown a CIA Medical Experiment? By Michael Myers.
That's right.
You know, which deals with the whole Jim Jones thing. It talks about how it didn't begin in Guyana.
That's right.
You know, the fact is when they were in
Indiana.
Yeah, it began in Indiana first of all.
In Guyana.
That's right. Indiana, the Masonic capital of the world. But anyway, it began there where you would first write letters and things and plant stories supposedly written by Klan members to scare the black congregation. Notice Jones, white preacher, goes into the black community.
Right.
You know, okay. That's right.
You know something else that was real interesting is that a large number of the participants in that program were former members of the Nation of Islam, which means they were predisposed to the brainwash because they'd already been brainwashed.
And also it's important to note that a lot of your so-called leaders associated with Jones, particularly out in California, like Angela Davis and all that crew. Yeah. Well, you know, he had a secret meeting with Mondale on the airport in San Francisco. But back to Jim Jones. Then, you know, and he did all that kind of thing to rally the black people around him like he was their savior. Yeah. You know, because he came out and talked strong against the Klan. Right. Then when he moves out to California, can't remember the little small town, before he moved to San Francisco, he set up this compound. You know, they talked about that the only window in the compound was this little window that looked like a Mogan David, you know, Jewish star. Right. But anyway, you know, they talk about how he set up a fence. Well, first of all, he had these people that were supposedly coming around John Birch Society or whatever he was calling them, coming around terrorizing the people, shooting up the place, he killed some of the dogs that they had outside the place and threw them down and made it look like that, the John Birch Society and them were coming to attack and kill the dogs. So they set up a fence. Then they put up a watchtower.
And the people were demanding it.
That's right. Asking for it. We got to be secure. Got the guns, guarded the watchtower. But the fact is that what they didn't realize and what we don't realize today, a lot of us, is that the guards and the fence and the dogs weren't there to keep people out.
It was there to keep people in. In fact, go to these neighborhoods with the barbed wire on them. Look at the direction of the barbed wire. It's all going in.
Exactly. On the inside.
You can't, and if you throw your coat over, it'll shred your coat.
That's right.
Like papers.
So in other words, what we're saying is that the name of this game is to fish you in.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, in foreign affairs, Brother Brian, I'm glad you brought that up because in foreign affairs, they're talking about fishing in all of Africa. Mm-hmm. And what issue was that? December of
92.
December of 90, winter 92, 93, in foreign affairs, they talk about fencing in all of Africa. Mm-hmm. Or all they did was leave the end off.
Right.
Because the name of the game is to fence in all of Africans.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes you.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now, if you do your homework, clearly you don't need no leader because look what they done for you.
Oh.
Look at what they done for you.
Right.
Louis Fiddler got.
They got you all ready for the what?
Gas.
That's right. We talked about those medical incinerators.
That's right.
You know what temperature they burn at now? 5,000 degrees.
That's right.
The significance of that is
Come
there's
on.
not a damn thing on earth they will not burn.
That's right. And that was a problem with the so-called ovens during World War II. They didn't get hot enough.
They only burned 2,000.
That's right.
And then the jets got clogged up with flesh.
But understand, like the minister always tells you, brother, you can't serve two masters. And I think he's telling you which master he's serving right now.
Well, hey, look, you want to look at it. You want to look at it. I mean, you know what I mean? Look at it truthfully. This is 1994.
That's right.
And we need things that are going to be of assistance to us in this struggle.
That's right.
And I'm telling you, don't you ever tell nobody who's facing genocidal forces to drop to their knees and bow their head because that's the most vulnerable position you could ever be in.
That's right. Well, and just to finish up that little story that I was telling you, when he went into that 45-minute, if I can call it a dissertation, after he got through, of course, they tried to recruit me. But that was in 1987. Now, let me ask you to be honest with yourselves. How long has the minister been in this town?
Too long. 14 years.
About 14, since the middle 70s or the latter part of the 70s, right? Now look now. Look now, because I'm not serious, because this has to be taken in a very serious manner. Now, ask yourselves again, what community?
That's right.
What community, Angela?
Leave it alone, brother. Leave it alone. It's okay.
Miss Davis. What community, seriously speaking, and see, it's always been my philosophy, if you don't speak to me, no, you can't speak for me.
That's right.
But what community, what black community, have you known Farrakhan to do two things in?
Yes.
Either live in or visit.
That's right.
What community? What black community?
No, not one.
In this town?
Not Inglewood.
Now name me one now. Anybody? Anybody?
Not Inglewood.
He lives in Beverly. Wait, hold, please. See, the issue ain't where he live or that he got a mansion.
That's right.
The issue is he claims or wants to be the spokesman for you
right.
without coming to see what your needs are.
That's
And
right.
the only time that he would venture to
right.
go into public housing in all of these years is when it's time for him to get a check, to get paid through New Life Inc.
But as you pointed out, Brother Robert, in the International Herald and Review, March 5th and 6th, is that it?
Yes, the International Herald Tribune.
Okay. It's not just in this town that he's got these contracts.
That's right.
He's got them in Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, L.A. And they got those clinics. Don't forget the clinics in D.C.
That's right.
Where they're selling Immunex
That's right.
instead of Immunine.
Well, brother, anything goes when it comes to hoes. And
we invite y'all to program back
his first convention was staffed by the Black nationalists. It was not staffed by Muslims. They headed all of the workshops, and they ran it for him and helped him to come back to power. So that should say something about somebody.
Name your name, sister.
We brought him back into power when he was virtually on his knees, or so I thought.
Sister.
This was about 76, and the picture of him appeared on the front page of the Defender in either 76 or 77 when they brought him back into power, and it was done over at the Whitney Young High School or King High School. It was on the south side, whichever one of the schools it was.
I vaguely recall that. One thing that I do know is that, according to an article that I got, I believe it was from the New York Post. Wait, here we go, right here. Let me go see.
It's revealing for people to know how he got back into power.
Because he had split from Wallace D.
That's right.
Right.
All of a sudden
He was on his own then. And,
The
he had to
nationalists
start over.
put him back on his feet and saw to it that he was able to reach the point where he is now.
Well, let me lay something on you, sister, because see, again, for me, it ain't beating up Farrakhan. That for me, it's not about that.
No,
For-
I'm not.
Right. I'm not. I don't even want to get that impression that you're beating up him as well. But
let me say one thing. Some of you might notice there's a couple of newsletters from our station out there in the seats and so forth. 91, 92 or something like that. We played Farrakhan over and over, but like everything in creation, everything must be reviewed.
Right.
And when you review, you must be willing to deal with the information that you find, regardless to what you find it on or who you find it on. No one is exempt from review.
That's right.
If you're sitting in your chair now and you lean forward, you know what happens? Your eye has just reviewed the new posture that you have in the relationship you have with the light, and it adjusts so that you can see.
that's right. Let me, and brother, see, I couldn't say it no better. But so I'm just going to show you here what he's talking about here. Look. See that picture there? Notice anything?
They can't see that, Robert. Just tell them.
Well, I can only
They don't get on the camera.
keep hope alive.
It's a picture of Maxine Waters, Quasi and Scroomy and
No,
Fumi.
you
Jesse Jackson, Minister Farrakhan, and Uncle Ben Shadis.
Right. Now, if you look at them, this look like and again, I don't deal with the light skin, dark skin thing as well, but they do. Okay? They do. This is from the final call, October 13th, 1993. Okay? All of them standing there grinning like Cheshire cats. None of them solved not one single problem in the black community. I'm going to say again. All of them been in position a long time. Look now. This is from the Arkansas Democratic Gazette for March the 1st, 1994. Check this. Farrakhan's aides trail of racist venom crossed Amin's path. Check now, watch now. So you was talking about the nationalist system. Nearly 2 decades ago in Uganda, Khalid Abdul Muhammad said he was aiding Ugandan dictator Idi Amin's dream of overthrowing the white South African government. Now, how you gonna work for the CIA and overthrow the white South African government by murdering everybody black in your path?
How are you going to make it a public announcement that you were, in fact, killing for Idi Amin, and yet they let you back in this country? Aren't they afraid of Muslim extremists?
Right. Unless, like Sheikh Abdul Rahman, you work for the CIA.
Or, what's the boy in Somalia? Sunday London Times, September the 5th, 93.
Front page.
Front page, UN paid that boy all the way into October of that
What's
year.
his son do, bro?
He was
He's in the United States Marines.
And it was on the first group
That's
that
right.
landed in Somalia.
That's right. But now look now.
Wait a minute. Doesn't Chancellor Williams speak about a place in Africa was one of the, what do they call it? What was it? Ansar? Was it ruled by the Hebrews and the Muslims or something? I'm thinking of Chancellor Williams. He wrote about it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Ansar?
I think it was
It was Ansar, yeah. The Hebrew Islamic capital, wasn't it? And don't think, I gotta say it, don't think when you get to the 33rd degree in the Masonic Lodge, drop the Bible and pick up what? What did they pick up? Assalamu alaikum.
The last little piece here that I think is instructive, the last little piece here that I think is instructive, particularly in terms of Black Liberation Radio, is the fact that, like, brothers from the nation used to come back and tell me that the minister was had people taping VON and the things that we say, they very subsequently ended up in his speeches, his lectures, that I've read Haki's book, and I know these quotes came from yours truly, and they're in his book, all right? Now look now, am I lying, Michael? Now look now, check this now, and everybody knows where this comes from. Muhammad, talking about Khalid, born Harold Moore Van, calls himself a quote, unquote, knowledge gangster.
Wait.
You're trying. He's socialist in the matter, so.
Was that in quotes?
That's plagiarism.
Yes.
I know where he got it. That's right. I know where he got the phrase.
We're in a march on that.
This summer, the July 4th weekend, they had the Indianapolis Black Expo. I was there along with the brothers who call themselves the New Jack Scholars on a panel with Khalid Muhammad and Tupac Shakur. Okay? It was the knowledge gangsters. It was the New Jack Scholars who back in the summer of 1991 had a radio show in Columbus, Ohio called Free Your Mind. And it was on Free Your Mind that we coined the phrase knowledge gangsters. And we said that in Indianapolis before the young people, and Brother Khalid heard it and liked it. And from then on, he was a knowledge gangster.
Because until that time it was used in general, right?
That's right.
Until we put it with Brother Robert.
That's right.
Okay.
And then boom.
And then we began to refer to ourselves as knowledge gangsters. And if you've seen any of the cable programs, you've heard us say that many, many times. One last thing, then, the sister.
Okay.
This brother here.
Again, I know this sounds strange to you, but when I don't see the minister ever walking in no Black community, I'm puzzled.
Right.
I am definitely, especially since he's a religious man, and I don't believe that if you are who you claim to be, that you would be scared to go among those that you seek to serve. For you cannot serve me from, all right, or from first class. You got to come to third class, the cheap seats where I am, to serve me. That's right. That's what I mean. Below coach, both ways. That's right, sister. Both ways. No question about it.
He'll be on next Thursday, 2020, by the way.
Yeah, but now look now, here's something else to throw at you now. If this whole thing with the minister and the Jews is a pump down job, then why would he go just before he gets ready to go on Arsenio? They talk about taking Arsenio off there, right?
Right.
Now, Barbara Walters brings a no speaking cave tramp ass here,
Snow White bitch.
goes to his home. Have you heard them talk about taking Barbara Walters off the air? So why is it acceptable for Farrakhan to go and talk and appear on white folk programs and nothing happens, but it's unacceptable for him to go on the white folk surrogate program?
That's right.
The thing that you better look, and we've been tracking it for some years since he appeared all over TV all at once a few years back, is that this is a major pump job to get you to. That's why he called it a thing like registering to vote, and why Leonard Muhammad would come on the Voice of the Negro and say that he's for the sweets.
That's right.
Now, I didn't say this. He did. And that they get what they deserve because they didn't listen to the minister like he's God.
Well, they think he died.
Okay?
Say it, brother.
Go ahead.
What is God going to bring down on America if something happens to him?
That's right.
Sister speak.
Sister, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shahida Muhammad. I've been working in the community for a very long time, and I know I'm kind of late, but the part that I've heard so far is that I'm very, very upset to hear the brothers up on the panel discuss people who are of influence in our community. And I work with the Panther Party. I work on the Chairman Fred. I worked in the community for a very, very, very long time. I'm 40 years old, and if we're dealing with any type of African culture, I hope you accept the fact that age comes with knowledge. So I'm I'm telling you this, that we should not look at people in the community that is doing anything positive. I mean, anything. We can take some shreds of what anyone is doing in the community that is positive. We should cherish that. Because on a whole, we can put everybody in this room together and we can write down a list. What are you doing in the community on an individual level? It won't pile up to jack.
Well, since you know
What do you do?
Hold it.
Let me finish. It will not pile up.
No.
It will not pile up to Jack's stew because I know myself and the sacrifices that I've made personally in my life to develop my nation, us as a race, is very limited, and everyone is very, very selfish when it comes to really developing and building a nation. So the sacrifices that are made on a whole, we should really cherish. We can put everything under the microscope like the brother said, but I think that we should really, really stop and think, what are people doing? Because how many people sitting in this room right now are representatives from the CIA? Okay?
Representatives of
Please wait. Listen. Mbanna is running this show. I am merely his eyes to call on those who wish to speak. But the sister, so we ain't going nowhere. Anybody want to make a comment? Everybody can comment.
That's right.
Sister, I feel that the sister has a valid concern. Now, Brother Mbanna, you want to?
Yeah, I just want to say, sister, you say you got here late. Earlier, we said that all we're going to do is present some information on some subjects. If it's of some value to you, use it. If it's not, don't use it. Okay? This information.
Hold it, sister.
Excuse me. The information that we're putting forward here is not just off the top of our head. Everything anybody's saying is being backed up by something that's written by someone else. Now, if you want to question the information that Robert had in that particular article, you would probably have to go to the author of the article. Okay? But that's all we're doing, putting forth information.
Hold it, sister. See, it's a respect thing, sister. I'm 42. So, we all come through this struggle, so it's a respect thing at this point.
The only point I want to make is that our Creator allows us to review. I ask the Creator all the time, what in the hell am I doing on this earth? Or why is it the planet or the stars can sit up in the sky by themselves, they ain't got no brain, and I'm supposed to be the greatest of your creation, and I can't even do what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? But my point is that if we can question the Creator, we can question anything in creation. Okay? Now, I don't know, I'm not going to tell you.
That's not an issue.
Okay.
Let me take one from the audience, then we'll come back to the panel, okay? Sister Link?
Okay. I just want to say that, first of all, when I look at the Nation of Islam, I look at it as an institution. And I cannot say that all that the Nation of Islam has become is because of one man. I think that's where we mess up every time. We keep on giving the credit to one person, one Messiah that we're all looking for. Because to me, believing in one person, it gives us a reason to be lazy. Because sister, it very much is.
Not in response to what I was saying.
Yes, it is in a way, sister, because you were saying to be careful about talking about the minister because anybody who is doing something positive. That's sister, I'm just can I and then I'll let you rebuttal and we can do all this. Too often we judge things from a quantitative viewpoint as opposed to a qualitative. Okay? So we look and we say, wow, they built this, they built that, they have this, the mosque is rehab, this and that. But we have to start to look at the quality. What is the quality of the individuals that are being created there?
You know, I respect you as an elder, but the fact is that we have to remember a few things. I mean, first of all, I don't think it's right to come in a room and throw a brick. You know what I mean? You know, and that's the whole CIA thing, because actually, if we want to deal with it, you know, if you want to talk about Chairman Fred, the numbers, CIA, FBI, whatever informants working under him, you know, we don't want to deal with that issue, okay? So let's get off of that. Okay? No, we don't want to go there. Not yet anyway. Okay? Now, another thing is that, you know, this whole thing about things being good. Now, of course, your enemy oftentimes is going to give you something that is going to appear good to you.
That's right.
You know, like, you know, in slavery, we had to eat that swine. It kept us alive, but that doesn't mean it was good for us.
Right.
In Jonestown, if you believe the quote-unquote official version,
That's right.
the people were given Kool-Aid,
Right.
which quenched their thirst, right?
Right.
Supposedly. And also, you know, tasted good, pleased their taste buds or whatever. But at the same time, within that Kool-Aid was cyanide.
That's right.
So we have to deal with the whole. We can't just take apart and say, okay, well, you know, there's some value in this, so we'll just basically ignore the negative part of it and be led to our death.
And sister, I'm going to give you, and then I'm going to come back to you, okay? I'm going to give you one quote here from the final call, not my words, his. Okay, and then you tell me how you feel about this, because I got, to put it mildly, pissed off, okay? From the same final call, October 13th, 1993. Look, listen to this. The unity of the Congressional Black Caucus forced a new relationship with President Clinton. Oh, my God. Okay, listen now. Every word, I'm not marking nothing out. They're giving a new meaning to race. The president knew he had to make some kind of a deal with the Congressional Black Caucus in order to get his legislative agenda through. That's power. That's bullshit.
That's right.
Okay, sister? Now, understanding the makeup of this system, the Masonic nature of this system, this racist, trilateralist, Council on Foreign Relations, elitist, government, understanding it as I do, no responsible black man would print this kind of nonsense in his paper and claim to be for his people, and knowing that the Congressional Negro Caucus has no influence on the political apparatus in this country, nowhere.
Those are his words.
None. Now,
That he spoke
wait.
Okay.
Would the final call quote his own, quote the Farrakhan out of context?
No.
I doubt it.
Explain it to me, Sister Nash, your floor.
I have a couple of things that I really want to respond to the sister here. You mentioned about the products from the, now I want to let everybody in the room know that I am not a member of the Nation of Islam. Number one, okay, I guess you can see that by the way I'm dressed.
I got real good friends in the nation.
Okay, but I'm just putting that out.
I got a brother.
I'm not a Nation of Islam. I am a Muslim, but I'm not a member of the Nation of Islam. So in response to the sister here, the products from the Nation of Islam, and the people of the Nation of Islam not getting quality information, and I assume that you were saying regarding Minister Farrakhan as being a leader, right?
No, I mean the institution as a whole. I'm saying that he or whoever, the nomenclature, who really controls everything within the nation, is not giving the people what we are hearing here tonight in terms of what's going to happen with these sweeps, in terms of what's going to happen with us being incarcerated as a whole. That's all I'm saying.
Now, in response to that, I am 100% behind you and the panel making a suggestion to the body in the whole that we shouldn't identify with specific leaders as being the end-all, be-all for direction of our nation as a whole. We have to look at a spiritual standpoint, we have to look at an economic standpoint, we have to look at a political standpoint, and each one of those venues that make up our whole daily existence have to be put under the microscope, like the brother said. Now, I'm not saying that Minister Farrakhan is the be-all, end-all of everything, but anytime you take the brothers out on the street in my neighborhood and get them away from the corners, from the gangs, and to have any type of self-esteem
something good in my community, okay?
Sister,
So that's one, okay, I'm just following the order, okay? So by Minister Farrakhan getting the quote-unquote Nation of Islam together, pulling more brothers out of the jails, getting them in any type of direction under the same 369 that they were going back to, he doing something good, okay? Because that same brother ain't gonna knock me upside my head when I'm coming home with my check in my purse.
Who said he would anyway?
Now, wait a minute. Let me respond. So I'm doing order. Now, this brother right here responded. He said, I'm coming in throwing a brick in the room, right? Come in the room and throwing a brick. I don't want to misquote you.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
Now, I think since you are a younger brother, I can understand you feeling intimidated by me or insulted. I'm sorry. I won't say intimidated.
Let me just say this.
I won't
I just want to say one thing. When you said that, a brother got up and left.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying because other people felt that you were going to start something.
But let me tell you
and not that I felt that.
Since I was 13 years old, I've been coming to meetings like this, okay?
Not like
My
this,
mother dragged me. I started out at the NAACP youth sessions, okay? I know it's real deep, but I progressed from there. That's a very simple, even with the Girl Scouts in the community, helping children out with homework, okay? So that's a level of progression, and I have progressed from that point on up to sessions like this in the 60s, okay? So I feel that everybody is qualified at some point to stand up and say something. If they've lived through the 60s and seen brothers' heads rolled out, you know what I'm saying?
Sister, hold it. Sister, hold it. Because we got other people here. We got to move on with.
Okay, can I respond to you?
No, sister.
Okay.
I mean, the other people in here, they've listened to other things that you haven't heard. For instance, let me just say yes or no for me, sister. Will you please? Have you ever heard of the multi-jurisdictional task force?
No.
Wait. Who runs the Trilateral Commission?
A bunch of white folks.
No, give me a name.
I don't have any name.
Okay.
Because that's not a major concern in my life. To make sure the brothers is out on the street. That's what I'm
Sister. Brother Rob, the sister came here with you. I went into a classroom full of 13-year-old young boys, right? Did I get total quiet?
That's good.
Sister, I am telling you that the problem with our people is you need to go back inside of yourself, sister, and try to reclaim your access code. Get in touch with yourself.
Are you telling me to do that on a
Sister,
personal level?
I am really saying, because I love you, sister. Wait, let me finish. I am merely saying, sister, that there are some things that you need to know. You need to go back and find out before you make an assessment as to what we're saying about a particular personality, based on the fact that leadership, there's a protocol. There's a protocol for leadership. And one way, sister, please, sister.
Excuse me, as moderator, please, because these kids, I don't think it's not fair. Excuse me, if I might say, we haven't allowed any one person this type of time.
Yes.
And it's unfair to everybody else here who has followed the flow of the conversation. And everybody else, it's not fair to spend so much time. Sister, we appreciate your concerns. Okay, cool. All right. And anybody else have a question, please? Go on. Comment, question?
Answer it after the program.
I'd just like to say that I appreciate the dialogue and discussion because we have our young people dying in the streets because historically we have had such a focus on religion and an educational system that has been designed to destroy us. And if in fact we have not taken our minds off of the religious plantations and out of these educational institutions and become critical thinkers, we all will perish. Now,
Religion is another dope.
as it relates to, very quickly in closing, I question that Time magazine piece with Farrakhan. I call the question because you telling us that the Jews are our enemies, okay? We thinking this, so we can hate them, okay? But yet, these same Jews and enemies coming in your house interviewing you.
With your socks on.
Okay?
We can't hear with you.
Why?
You got your socks on playing the violin for
Now, these same Jews that I ain't no good and blood suckers,
Right.
but Barbara Walters, and I do understand they own ABC, controlled it, CBS, okay, part of the trial. But yeah, she in your house.
What are you doing?
My point is, if you don't ask questions, if you don't seek out knowledge, and if you don't tie things together, I'm called to ask.
Thank you. That's right.
And I'm still waiting for a return call.
That's right. You will not get one.
Did you get paid? And why are you perpetrating this bull?
I thank you for the comment. I'm gonna add a 10-second, one of the gentleman back there.
This brother would have
I know. A 10-second little thing for your edification, sister. The regional head, the time when Lorna was saying, the regional head for housing in this area, the regional head, is none other than Edwin Eisendrath, a Jew. Not one time did his name ever come up in the discussion about the so-called friction between Farrakhan and Jews and them getting the contract, brother.
And is this or is this not the most wicked beast government that ever walked the planet Earth or not?
Amen.
Number one, it is. Come on, brother.
Yeah, I've been through, I'm 49 years old, and I've been through the whole struggle.
Right.
The whole thing. I go out and I hear people talk about Fred. I grew up with Fred. He was like a little brother to me, you know, so I know him personally because I grew up in Maywood. He looked up to me. He was like a little brother. So but when I hear people talk about the new Fred, Fred was a regular brother, so first of all. But let me say this. Information is key.
Thank you.
And I don't think that, I love Brother Farrakhan, but I don't believe that Farrakhan or anyone else is above what the brothers are doing here.
That's right.
Matter of fact, this is a great service right here. I don't care if the brothers here or the brothers in the mosque agree with me. I really am beyond anybody agreeing with what I say.
That's
When
right.
I say what the brothers here are bringing, and I'm talking about brilliant brothers right here, okay? Information,
Sister, you just walked in the door. You really
these brothers were imparting information. They made it very plain before this started. They made it very plain before this started that they were imparting information. They spent about 5 minutes on that subject right there. And that's all this is imparting information. And I can say this. In the last 10 years in my life, I spent a lot of time in the library. And I've done something which I don't know if it's improving that which I had or if it's, I don't know what it is, but I've done a lot of reading. My intelligence level has gone up immensely. And I've internalized, I can verbalize many things.
That's right.
And I've internalized what I've read, which makes me a very creative and a very intelligent
And
brother.
dangerous.
Okay, so what I'm saying here is that's what these brothers have done. And that's what they're trying to get for all of the brothers and sisters here and elsewhere, is to read, get this information,
right.
and then you will internalize it. You will be like, I think, Fahrenheit 4 or 4
Fahrenheit 401.
These people became,
Yes,
we're
sir.
going to have to become like that.
That's right.
That's right.
But I have to say that we don't, that's all I'm going to say.
Excuse me, we got to get Brother Randy in here. Brother Randy haven't had an opportunity to speak. But I want to make one point. I want to make one point. On February 4th, 1994, Al Gore or Igor, whatever you want to call it, announced that public housing across the country is security is under the control of who? The Secret Service.
That's right.
Sounds like Farrakhan works for the Secret Service.
Just let me say one thing in 6 seconds, because the sister asked, what are we doing? We ain't shooting dope. We ain't robbing black folks. We sitting here minding our business. We ain't creating no hassle. That's what we doing. Now
committee with, I'm bound to two things. And that's to get as much information as I can get, and with the limited amount of funds that I get, and to tell our people the truth as often as I possibly can based on that information.
And I would like to say,
It was by design, so they should ignore her. Let's move on.
If you guys don't stop, I'm gonna leave. You guys hurt? Me too. No, can we move on, please?
Like we're doing now, back in the 70s and the 60s, we wouldn't have this problem we had. Just as a mother, when her son comes in, she say, where the hell you been? Wait, what? You said, I called over Todd house, you wasn't over there. You know, and that is a way of disciplining him so that he will be obedient and will be upright and will do what you have brought him into this world to do. That's the same way we should do our leaders. We should ask Jesse, wait a minute, what was you doing with Rockefeller? Wait a minute, Farrakhan, I thought the Jews was against you. Why did Eisendrath give you this contract? Right. We should hold them accountable, as the Negroes like to tell us. So we're holding them accountable by questioning them, sister. And I question them out of love. I don't question them out of cutting them down. You know what I'm saying, sister? Okay, that's all I wanted to say. No, let's move on. Everybody can run right here.
Can we move on?
Come on.
I'm gonna use the bathroom. I'm gonna use the bathroom.
Randy.
That's no problem.
No problem. We're patient. Okay. It's okay. We're patient. With each other. Okay, sister, for your edification, there's some books I want you to get. You know, it's not. I don't have no problem with her. It's okay. We've been through this before. There's a few books that I'd like for you to get if you get a chance. That talks about brother Minister Farrakhan. Get the book The Judas Factor by Carl Evans. It talks about his involvement in helping create the climate to assassinate Malcolm X. And get this book Conspiracy: Unraveling the Assassination of Malcolm X by Zach Kondo. It talks about Rudolph Nichols, John R. Lee, Captain Joseph X, and others. Louis Farrakhan again, helping to create the climate that was necessary to assassinate our brother Malcolm X. Here's another book, Malcolm X, Make It Plain. Text by William Strickland with the Malcolm X documentary production team. In this book, it has various articles in here. I'll let you get a chance to speak. Hold on. No, it's okay. It's okay. Wait, hold on for a second. Now in here, there's a piece right here that I think you'll find quite interesting from the book, Malcolm X, Make It Plain. Okay? Now right here, there's a piece on page 197 of the book, Malcolm X, Make It Plain by William Strickland and Cheryl Green. It says, Muhammad Speaks runs a 5-page denunciation of Malcolm X by Minister Louis X, now Farrakhan of Boston, December 4th, 1964. Such a man as Malcolm is worthy of death, he writes. Here is, right here on the front page, Boston Minister tells of Malcolm, Muhammad's biggest hypocrite, by Minister Louis X, page 197. Now see, these are some of the, there's no way that you can try to extricate or separate, this from the truth. The information is in the books. We provide them basically some information so that people will basically make their own choices and their own decisions themselves. I don't want you to listen to everything and accept everything what I say is the truth. Because everything I say is a lie. I just say, go ahead and make the knowledge your own. Go out and do the research. And what we want you to do is just get the information.
What I want to say, we really don't need a discussion about Farrakhan. We need to put our money in
Sister, this is not a discussion about Farrakhan, but he is not above reproach. We have a right to question whoever we want. And that's it. That's not the issue. That's not the issue.
That's all.
Let's not let her be successful. Okay.
Wonderful.
May I respond? May I respond? I'm not responding.
Wonderful. Thank you. Bye.
All I want to say is, one thing I learned from interacting with people, it ain't what a person does. the intentions are. Because I give you an example. If I know, if it's an old couple right down the street from me, and I know they got this house with 60 acres of farm.
You're right.
And I know all they got to do is be nice to them and give them that impression. They're a good guy, and they'll smoke before anybody in the world. They're the nicest men in the world. And my intentions all the time was to get their damn land. What do they make me?
That's right.
It's your intentions. It ain't what you do. What's your intentions?
And with that, we're going to move on with the
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you're going to have to be
I
quiet.
guess
You treated us hell when you get quiet. You're going to have to be quiet.
You don't want to hear what they got to say, then you can leave. So let us go on with the program.
That's right.
In the door.
You know, what's interesting to me is when we first opened up with this symposium, that the very first thing I asked of us as a people is that we wouldn't come in with any religious dogma or your political beliefs that would divide and separate us, that we would bring to a floor an agenda and discuss information that's important, that we all could make correct decisions based upon our own understanding. Not what somebody else's doctrine espoused for you to believe or hold on to. Since I've been sitting here and I haven't said anything for a long time, that's highly unusual. I have been the recipient of this on many occasions. I'm not going to name names or individual agendas. But see, I was told at one time when we spoke about something like this, that this is Muhammad's house. Let me correct you. This is the Most High's house. And the Most High's people are gathered here. Once we hold on to doctrine, dogma, and philosophy of men, we run amok and we run in error.
Yes, sir.
Now, let me explain what I mean in error and running amok by men's doctrine.
Yes.
Some so-called Muslims, not a true Muslim, listen to me well so you won't misinterpret what I say. Some so-called Muslims will say Christians are wrong by believing that Yeshua appeared in the form of God, appeared in the form of Jesus Christ.
Right.
And then you beat black Christians over the head with that. Right. But let me quote something to you after the final call.
Go ahead.
Point 12. We believe that Allah, God, appeared in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, July 30, the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians and Mahdi of the Muslims. I think we don't understand what the word Messiah means.
Yes.
The true meaning of that word Messiah comes from the Hebrew word Mashiach.
That's right.
Yeshua was not the only Messiah.
That's right.
Moses was a Messiah.
That's right.
He came at a time when Israel was in trouble, and he was a deliverer.
Of information.
That ain't the only one.
That's right.
Mordecai was a Messiah during the time of Queen Esther, where she was a Messiah because she delivered Israel.
Go ahead.
Talk to me.
When you open the book of Revelations, and the scripture says that there was a lamb standing there, and he described the lamb. He said that he had hair like lamb's wool, feet like brass, burned in the oven, which is black.
Sure.
You forget to quote the other scripture that says, and the voice of a sound of many waters.
Right.
Many waters in the scripture refer to people.
Yes.
In Isaiah, it says a messianic people will come before the second advent of the Messiah.
That's right.
Why are you putting all your hopes and dreams and aspirations in one man?
Go ahead. Teach. Go ahead.
One man.
Talk to me, my
Be
brother.
he Farrakhan, be he Martin King, be he Malcolm X,
That's right.
be he Denmark Vesey,
That's right.
Gabriel Prosser,
That's
Booker
right.
T. They have studied us and studied us. We don't even know ourselves.
Go ahead.
That before the Messiah comes, you have to have a messianic people to set up the government of the Messiah. Where there is no messianic people, there is no order.
That's right.
You looking for heaven pie in the sky, and it's right here, the Creator ready to give us the kingdom. This here, brothers and sisters, in the words of the Quran and the Torah, this is idolatry.
Idolatry.
Why? Because they venerating through a man.
Right.
Anytime you sit up and say Elijah, Muhammad's doctrine is more superior than the Quran,
Right.
you're an idolater.
Right.
Anytime you stand up and you espouse Milton Bronson's doctrine over the Injil, over the Torah, you are an idolater. This is true. If I espouse to you my doctrine, because I have none, any man, you are an idolater, and God frowns upon you. The man or woman that turns his ear away from hearing the law, even his prayers are
Yeshua said, well do you worship me. You speak highly of me with your lips. Right. Your heart is far from me. You teach as doctrine the commandments of men. We hold on to Talmud, Hadith, Sahuf, everything but the written scroll of the Creator, which is the perfect guide to lead us to the perfection of man.
Talk to me.
Be careful, brothers and sisters. Tribulation is right around the door. And you are tampering with the shock of the hour. Don't even realize.
And this brother, he got on church. You know what I mean?
That is why we at Black Liberation Radio and the brothers up here tonight have been stressing with you that the importance of you getting information for yourself. When the multi-jurisdictional task force beat down your door, they ain't gonna say, wait a minute, don't touch that sister, she ain't got her Quran.
That's right. That's right. Make it plain.
We gotta start dealing with knowledge now. You know, I can't go forward with what I believe. I can go forward with what I know.
That's right.
In the Quran, if I might, it says, know that I'm Allah.
That's right.
In the Bible, it says, ye shall know the damn truth.
That's right.
It didn't say believe it.
That's right.
It didn't say act like, find somebody that know it and hang around with them.
That's right.
It said believe it. Know it unless you seek it. And you cannot seek it unless you are seeking truth.
That's right.
Truth. I'm talking about truth. I'm not talking about what somebody told. See, that's why if you notice when you came in here, there were articles on the chair. Did y'all notice articles on the chair? Yeah. Because I told the brothers, we did not want you to leave here and say, Robert said this, Randy said this. We wanted you to be able to point to something. Now look here at this paper here. We wanted you to be able to do that on your own. So we get over this hero worshiping. There was discussion before this thing started. Well, how are we going to present it? Somebody said, well, why don't everybody make one speech after and go sit down? That is not what we want to do. We want to present it in this way so that everybody knows that there is more than one person who's got some information. How do you think all of us, I've never met Nehemiah before. I've never met Robert or Randy until this day. None of us have been in the same room together except me and Brian in any time in our lives. But when we bring up something, we bring up a subject, how is it that Brother Nehemiah can pick up an article? I didn't tell him. I don't know what Nehemiah got over there. I don't know what Randy got over there. I don't know what Robert or Brian got over there. But how is it that every time we start talking, everybody got something that'll fit what we talk about? That's right.
I guess I'm staying.
You know what I'm saying? Look, we want to deal with knowledge. And all I want to do, all we want to do tonight is share with you some information. I start off every program every night, and just in case y'all want to know, if I wasn't here tonight, I would be back home in my prisoner of war camp, okay? doing our 1,677th night in a row of broadcasting. Kiss my ass, we don't do nothing else.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Do it.
Move on, brother. I'm staying.
Now, I start off every night and we say we ask that our ancestors be with us.
That's right.
So that anybody that come before you will be of some assistance to you in your pursuit of what?
Universal ultimate truth.
That's right.
Go ahead, Brother
That's all we're trying to do. If the information is of value to you, send it to the pancreas because it needs that nutrition.
For everybody's edification here, just a little bit of what we got to look forward to here in the future in terms of law enforcement. Now, we talked about the multi-jurisdictional task force. Well, let's go to the futurists and hope that we can go tomorrow.
Wait, brother, there you go, one of those black national magazines.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know, The Futurist is a magazine written by some of the major college professors in this country and have been for over 20 years. Go to your library, and I think it's the Harold Washington Library on the 6th floor. You will find stuff in there. Matter of fact, you will find articles written by Al Gore in there.
Absolutely.
Igor.
Yeah, that's right.
They keep me straight here. They let me know when I pronounce stuff wrong. Law enforcement beyond the year 2000. This was written by the Futures magazine September, October 1986. Says here, budget cuts, new technologies, and shifting responsibilities imply fewer U.S. law enforcement united agency.
The Directorate of Central Law Enforcement.
That's right.
So, brother, Lee Brown has done some good things.
Yes, he has.
Sure.
Well, yeah, he was in Atlanta, wasn't he?
In Atlanta, baby.
Absolutely.
Houston.
So look what they say here now. Now, this is 86. This is long before we get split with it. They say the end result could be a single police force for the entire country. So it lets you know that this didn't come from Bill Clinton. This came from the planners, the think tankers, who are already gotten together and moving forward with their agenda, and Bill Clinton is nothing more but one in a long line of the facilitators of that agenda. Case in point, appropriate punishment, the keys to rehabbing criminals, the futurist April 1981. Look, traditional methods of punishment breed rage, alienation, and crime. To be effective, punishment in the future must include some kind of reconciliation with society. Given today's unworkable and deteriorating criminal justice system, the question is not whether the traditional methods of punishment must change, but how. Modern society must learn to punish well, like virtually imprisoning you by putting implants in your head and basically restricting what you do based on the encoding or the incorporation of that computer chip, which will basically interface with your entire everyday life in terms of the information superhighway, which what brother was talking about earlier, to allow for you to basically punch in what you want, and before you know it, it's in your house.
Brother Robert, just to add on to what you say before you go on, I mean, I think, you know, the reason we study the Trilateral Commission, brother, if you look in Holly Scholar's book, which Brother Randy mentioned before.
Yeah, Trilateral.
That's right. Holly Scholar, in one of the articles, she edits the book, she talks about the structure of the Trilateral Commission, and that each year, or whenever they have their meetings, they have one of these scholars present, and they bring in journalists and politicians so that they can sit there and hear this message and know what orders they need to follow when they get back into their communities or nations.
Hold the line.
Brother
I'm sorry, Brother Randy.
Okay, what I want to do is tie out some sources, linking with much of what you said. Now, this is an excellent book right here that I got from my brother Bob Rose. Oh, I had to put you on here. You gotta get me in trouble. You didn't come for me, I'm taking you with me. Book, Pages of Steel, The Politics of Imprisonment in the United States, edited by Ward Churchill and J.J. Vanderwall. In this book, it talks about high-tech prisons. It talks about supermax prisons. It talks about various methods to control your movement. They also have a program called the Stamheim model, which deals with breaking down you, psychologically break your spirit. It's basically a brainwashing method developed by a professor at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He taught at the business school, okay? And it talks about, in this book, how they have various mechanisms, various tools to manipulate and control your behavior. And there's a piece in here by Asaf Shakur, talks about the attacks on Group bin Wahad, attacks on the American Indian movement, attacks on the Revolutionary Action Movement. And this is an excellent book. It's called Cages of Steel. This came out less than, I think, about 2 or 3 years ago. Okay, it's called Cages of Steel, The Politics of Imprisonment in the United States. Okay, and here's another. I want to toss in here real quick. This is New Studies on the Left. Former Issues in Radical Therapy. This is volume number 14, numbers 1 and 2, the prison issue. And it talks about all kinds of methods that they have to crush you, to various repressive methods. They talk about use of the chip, and also talks about Stamheim model in here. And it has an interview with Omali Yeshitela, the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party. Okay, and this also talks about Fred Hampton, the attack on Fred Hampton. This is another good source right here that you should check out. It's called Studies on the Left. This came out about 3 or 4 years ago, the prison issue. Okay, talks about the various methods of repression. Then get the book Ages of Repression by J.J. Vanderwall and Ward Churchill, and get Fantasies of the Master Race by Ward Churchill. Okay, and also get this book, Opening Up the Suburbs, An Urban Strategy for America by Anthony Downs. He was just in town this past Tuesday, because I went to check him out. I took his picture because while I was I had to do it. He was at the Chicago Club this past Tuesday, April 12th, speaking from 2 12 to about 2.
Tell him
okay?
about his dad.
And he's the one, Anthony Downs' father, James Chesterfield Downs, with his Real Estate Research Corporation.
That's right.
Just died just recently. Anthony Downs is one responsible for developing spatial deconcentration.
That's right.
Defensible space, okay? Urban cul-de-sacs.
That's right.
Urban renewal programs.
He's the planner. He's the planner's planner.
He's one of the senior fellows at the Brookings Institute.
That's right.
Okay, he's one of the top scholars. He's an expert. He was just here Tuesday at the Chicago Club on Van Buren in Michigan. Okay, he was sorry, but he was sponsored by the Metropolitan Planning Council.
That's right. I think in the beginning we talked about how, they wanted you to think that everything that they're doing now is in response to things that are happening now. What the brothers have so thoroughly done is showed you this is a long-term, drawn-out plan.
Right. And I want to add another point. I'll let you finish. Just about finished, bro?
No, you are.
Okay, sorry about that. I just want to, I don't want to interrupt you. Sorry. Sure, I expect you.
Come on, man.
You're my elder and everything. That's right. In the book, Defensible Space by Oscar Newman, Crime Prevention Through Urban Design. Now, much of this program about cul-de-sacs came from Oscar Newman, okay? It's a book called Defensible Space by Oscar Newman. He has field tested many of these ideals that in Ohio, Philadelphia, and other places in New York, okay? Now, they have already implemented many of these programs according to Mike Davis' book, City of Quartz, which deals with excavating the future of LA. And you see some of the programs happen right here in South Austin. Now, here it is in the Whitney City Word newspaper, August 20th, 1993. We're watching you. And it talks about the narcotics enforcement zones, which is mentioned right in this pamphlet by Mike Davis.
Come on.
Mike Davis, Beyond Blade Runner, Urban Control, the Ecology of Fear. Right here, it talks about, it has a little chart on pages 10 and 11, okay, entitled The Ecology of Fear. And it talks about gang-free parks, drug-free zones. Right here in the South Austin area, they have already implemented this. They have done it in Hyde Park too. Neighborhood watch groups, armed response groups, narcotics enforcement zones, prostitution abatement zones.
That's right.
I mean, the list goes on. Okay, they have various armed response groups, and I mean, had a med-fly quarantine zone.
That's right.
Okay, California. Okay, this is from California. Okay, a child molestation exclusion zone.
That's right.
Okay, and this is what they're planning to do here in Chicago. They already done it. Yeah, that's where Dum Dum Daily, we talked about the city of Chicago. I got this on Operation Cul-de-sac because it's mentioned in City of Quartz from Mike Davis. It's come from the programs that the repressive forces in LA have developed to neutralize brothers and sisters in LA. And it's mentioned in the book City of Quartz, and the name of the program is called Operation Cul-de-sac. They have other programs, Operation Hammer, Operation Weed and Seed. It ties right in with the FEMA program.
That's right.
It ties right in with Sam Yes' book here, The Choice, which deals with the issue of black survival in America. On pages 313, he talks about the 6 detention centers. The 2 in Arizona, 1 in Pennsylvania, 1 in California, 1 in Florida, and 1 in Oklahoma. And they also talk about a program. That's right. And they talked about a program that the FBI had developed called Operation Dragnet. That's where the Dragnet program got its title.
Let me, I'm gonna update that. Like Rex 84, there's now 2. There's Rex 84 and Rex 87. They used to call it the King Alfred plan back in the 60s. Now, under FinCEN operates under the auspices of the UN, the United Nations. Check. Here's where the FinCEN bases are located. Check this. It says here that the FinCEN or United Nations combat forces interlock and overlap with the UN combat forces, include those that are cooperating with FinCEN at this time in Montana, where there are 21,000 basically identified south of Los Angeles. The elements that were located in Texas have shifted and by all indications are probably spread out through a series of garrisons. The Ohio Valley, starting in the Cincinnati area and moving northwest, has forces deployed there. We know that these elements are also located at Fort Echuca. There are some in Fort Benning, Georgia. We know that an element was also located at Fort Drum. By the way, our processing center for detainees in the western half of the United States is Oklahoma City. By all indications, Fort Drum will be the control point for processing individuals to detention facilities on the eastern half of the United States, east of the Mississippi.
Brother Robert, wait a minute. Who controls this organization?
The United Nations.
Now, y'all remember when they bombed Yugoslavia last week? Somebody say, hey, Clinton, you didn't call the Congress. Clinton said, United Nations called.
That's right. That's right.
Peacemaking, bro.
That's right.
Not peacekeeping now. Remember that? Not peacekeeping.
Check it out. In Somalia.
Peacemaking.
That's right. For the first time ever in Somalia, they invoked Chapter 7 of the UN Charter, Security Council Charter, where they go in as peacemakers.
That's right.
As opposed to Chapter 6, which they had been under before, which was called for peacekeepers.
That's right. Which means they were allowed to go in and shoot.
That's right.
First.
That's right.
As opposed to take a defensive.
That's right. That's right.
Brother Vic Kantako.
Brother Randy mentioned the choice. The book, Choice by Sam Getty. I've been trying to get that book for about 2 years now.
I know you.
And I have not yet found anybody with the book available.
I think it's being reissued from what I understand.
Yeah, I think it's
because
the brother.
You get a chance to get it. It's full of information.
Right, the brother. Last time I talked with him, he was leaving. I think Howard. Was teaching him, and he said this. He wrote me a letter stating that he had set up his own publishing company.
Cottage Publishing.
Yeah.
What was the title of the book again?
The title of
Choice.
The Choice.
The issue of black survival in America.
Don't forget
that part.
That's right.
Let me piggyback on what you said instead of piggyback.
Different now.
There you go.
Yeah, let me piggyback. You mentioned FEMA.
Culturally.
Right now, here's the specifics involved in FEMA and under King Alfred. Originally, it was called the King Alfred Plan. That was in 1954, all the way up to 1968, until we rioted in 68.
Right.
And Nixon and others put this thing together, and it finally came down, as we know, either in 1978 or 79 from Carter. But let me tell you who's involved here. The participating federal agencies are the National Security Council and the Department of Justice, the Central Intelligence Agency, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Defense, and the Department of Interior. Also, participating state agencies will be the National Guard / if necessary, regular Army or federal troops, state police agencies, city police, and county. It says what will happen is when the minority, who could that be? Now listen very carefully, because if you're intelligent people like I think you are, you're going to catch something that not the average person will catch here. When the national emergency comes, we must expect the total involvement of all, it says here 22 million members of the minority, men, women, and children. For once this project is launched, its goal is to terminate, neutralize the individuals. Once and for all, the minority threat to a whole of the American society and indeed the free world / New World Order. Now,
if I might, brother, the 22 million is based on an estimate at that time. That is every last black face in this country.
That's right.
Even middle class?
Oh, this is everybody. You see, they have the country divided off into 10 different sectors.
That's right.
And it starts with Sector 1 in the northeast portion of the country going all the way to the west. And Sector 10 is in the west portion of the country. But it lists the individuals who they're going to round up first. Members of the Black Muslims, Nation of Islam, and American Muslims. The Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. The Congress of Racial Equality. The Yahura Movement.
That's right.
Well, I see you in prison then. Group of Advanced Leadership.
We're going to share a sandwich.
And all the way down. It even goes on, it even goes on to mention Negro establishments like the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the NAACP, Century 21 Vote, Bro, where'd I get this from? Why everybody ask me where'd I get this from? Look, I have these available for everybody in here and more so.
One place you can find them is in a book that was called a novel at the time. I mean, most of it is fiction, but part of it is truthful. It's called The Man Who Cried I Am by John Ray Williams. That's right.
You know what else was interesting is that you said they would eliminate the problem in America and the free world. It seems as though they intend on going beyond the borders of the so-called United States. Don't it? That would encompass some other parts of the world.
They're going to maintain unlimited access to the mineral wealth of Africa, because that's what all this is all about.
Also,
they're going to go everywhere it takes.
Let me add just real quick from Mbanna said real quickly. Militarily speaking, Grenada was a testing ground. Grenada was a testing ground for Panama. And if you read or even see the movie Panama Deception, it will tell you that Panama was a testing ground for Iraq and urban warfare. And the document came down in 1989 that they were going to invade Iraq and Kuwait. How could this be possible when the invasion didn't take place till August the 2nd, 1990?
Right, and it was as a result of Iraqi soldiers throwing Kuwaiti babies on the floor.
Oh, maybe Mr. Bush owns some wealth in supply oil.
Right. No. Now get him out of here.
What the finger at me?
Also, going back to this whole FEMA thing, we bring up the issue of state defense forces. From Covert Action Information Bulletin, number 31, winter 1989. The issue is special issue on domestic surveillance, 89.
I was going to say, you got a contact?
Hey, let's go, brother. But anyway, it says in the article, page 55, it says, underpinning plans to mobilize the National Guard for foreign combat, at least 24 states sanctioned volunteer paramilitary groups to quash opponents of the next war. Known generically as state defense forces, the groups now maneuver at cadre strength but will balloon by state-imposed conscription when called to the streets. Also, it says that even strategists within the Department of Defense acknowledged 15 years ago that the economy cannot sustain a regular military large enough to control world resources demanded by American appetites. Okay? Also, it says, further down in the article, it says, on governor's authority, the paramilitary volunteers are chartered to suppress civil disorders, fight terrorists and saboteurs, and occupy key facilities. It says, in practice, such constabulary missions are emphasized, while disaster relief, the prime National Guard assignment, is an afterthought. Also, let me state this about Ohio. Not only do they get funding through the state legislature each year, but the adjutant general, as they call him, over the state defense force in Ohio is the same general that led the troops on Kent State.
Oh, that's deep.
Let me ask you this, Robert, before we go to the brothers and sisters audience. Is a national emergency from foreign threat required to enact FEMA, or can anything bring about FEMA?
FEMA can be used under anything that may be considered a national emergency according to a particular, what do they call them, special orders.
Executive order.
Executive order.
Like y'all won't take y'all ID card.
Yeah.
That might be it.
I think that's in there.
Also important, especially for brothers that call into the radio show, it should be noted that state defense forces are also charged with monitoring local radio broadcasts and tracking militants, so-called quote-unquote militants in the community.
So you see, that's why it's important that I understand that there may be police. I don't care. I invite them to every one of my things. Because if they come long enough, we're going to take them. All right?
And in fact, if we don't take them, when they go back and report, they'll say, boss, we in trouble.
That's right. And one of the things you'll never get is you ain't trying to search nobody. Because again, this is about the dissemination of information, and hopefully people will go out and begin to look at some of these things themselves, thereby making us useless.
In fact, that's what we want to do. We want to work our way out of a job.
That's right.
Because when you get to the point where you are looking for information yourself, there'll be no need for us. That's it.
Hey,
and my wife told me to remind y'all that might have came in late that we do got tapes back there in the back.
That's right. And I would suggest if you haven't listened to them, you won't hear anything else like it. A case in point, you've heard about them talking about recruiting gang members here.
Yeah.
This is the London Times, October 17, 1993. Police urge to recruit paid informers. Guess who the informers are that they want to recruit or where they come from? So-called gangs in London.
Well, they got gangs in Somalia.
Yeah, they call them, no, not thugs. No, they don't call them technicals. They call them yardies.
Yardies, that's right.
They call them yardies.
They got gangs in Rwanda.
And remember that.
That's right. And also they said that London, or England, was the carjacking capital of the world.
With no guns.
That's right.
I mean, it's real.
Well, y'all know how y'all are.
And just to stress this point, I'm coming to you next, right? Okay. And just to stress this point, the name of this game, as well as the things that we kind of enlighten you or try to share with you here tonight, is to basically demonize not just black males, but the name of the game is to entrap without her knowing the black female.
That's right.
The most important part of what we do, and I've already decided that there's going to be a black female forum here. I'm going to be sitting right out there listening to what the sisters got to say, okay? Because they are, in fact, now I've said it time and time again, if we get out this mess, it's going to be the sisters. It won't be us. Because you raised me. We only accent what you do, okay? You basically, you define what the definition is for a man. No man can stand before you and define manhood. I can't. Because if the sisters reject me, then I'm going to change to that which they seek to accept.
Right. Right now they accept shit.
That's right. but the overall picture of this thing is to therefore prevent sisters from having children, or when they have them, to take them away from the sisters.
Or have them for white babies.
That's right. One of the most, and that's until they get to the point, and that's maybe 15 years down the road, where you have to, of course, go and get your license. I said, go and get your license to have your children. You will not be able to have children unless you have a license.
Why you think, if you check these public housing communities, one thing that ain't nobody talking about, there's a policy going across the country called banning. This is where a brother is set up. Generally, a provocateur will engage a brother in a heated discussion long enough that either a pig or employee of the local housing authority comes upon him.
Same thing.
Then the brother that is set upon is banned for life from that community. There is no hearing, and I don't give a damn if that place exists for 100 years. He can never, and you hear me, never come back. One brother, they was ready to take him to jail in the neighborhood once, but the brother, only reason they didn't take him to jail because he died. Only reason, but they said, he's where? They said he's at his children's house. And they all went there, but they found out that the brother had an OD. But had he not OD, they'd have took him to jail. Brothers and sisters, if they want access to the woman, they must first remove anybody that might stand up and fight. Because I'm going to tell y'all right now, people want to go picket prisons, people want to go march here and there to find this black man we need. I'm going to tell you right now, no matter how tall a black man may be, where did he come from? A black woman. And if the black woman will be left alone so that she can develop as she should develop, she will produce who we need.
A whole bunch of decides.
I'm going to say one last thing here from this article, and check this now. Look at the date on this. This article, Licensing Parents, is from the Futurist magazine, December 1978. Look at here. To show you how important the research is. Now check this. It says, the issue of licensing parents forms only part of a movement that is pressing for the recognition of children's rights, which is why you saw the whole thing going on with the kids taking their parents to court. This is 1978. It goes on to say the courts have recently begun to conclude that children do have some rights, including the right to receive an education and the right to not to be sexually, physically, or psychologically or economically abused. The 19 children on the north side were considered economically abused. Look now. Licensing parents is actually just one more step in the process that for centuries has been giving human beings more and more control over conception. Today, licensing parents has become feasible because of the increasing effectiveness of and knowledge about birth control methods. Sterilization methods can't be used for licensing because such methods are generally irreversible. Scientists must develop the technology both to prevent conception before a license is obtained and then to restore fertility once a license is granted. Yes. So, look, this 78 though. Look. The World Health Organization.
that article?
1978. The capsule is inserted under a woman's skin by a hypodermic needle and leaks a steady supply of progesterone, a female hormone that prevents pregnancy. Researchers have already perfected, check this, researchers have already perfected a 3-year capsule. That wasn't long enough for them. How long is the one they got now for? 5. So they increased the time span. At the end of the 5 years, everybody that got it, this shit's still gonna be dripping in you, and the capsule's gonna be gone. Okay? I'm telling you, the last little point here. It says, from the perspective of history, it is the only one more step for the government to help prospective parents decide on the best time to have a child. As more and more high schools offer child rearing courses in North Plant now, more and more students can probably meet the requirements for a license without additional training. That's telling me that your children tomorrow will not be able to have kids unless they have the license to go along with it.
And you have to take parenthood classes in order to get the license and everything.
And what I would ask you, and I'm coming to you.
You gotta pass a test.
What I would ask you is to go. What I would ask you is to go inside the nation, go inside of your churches, go inside of these so-called Negro organizations, and tell me if you hear any of this. They got tapes. I encourage you to buy the tapes and listen to what's being said. Because what you will find is that you are being preached to, and the fact that you're not being informed.
That's from the futures.
That's from the futures, 1978.
In conjunction with what you just said, Robert, going back to 1973 when Dr. Chris Welker was compiling a paper, the Europeans, to show you how they think so far ahead, that estimate then in 1973, they made up then approximately 15% of the world population.
That's right.
That estimate, 100 years from now, 2073, they'll only make up 3% of the world's population. That's why they have to get rid of us.
They might be on even it out.
That's right. In fact, according to a report out of the United Nations, 1993 population report, it says that there'll be like 98 million new people on the planet every year, and 97 million will be black. Right?
So now, what would you do if you was in a position where you were white and you knew that all these black folks
get rid of it?
I get a 10.
I got a pill for that too.
Right. That's called that a thrill pill.
Hey, Rob.
December 19th, Christmas.
You know,
your Christmas gift.
There are young Klan women who are trying to populate for the future.
Right. Yeah. Read the book, The Birth Derby by Ben Watson.
I say to them, good luck.
That's right. That's right. That's right, Mike. She don't matter.
Well,
what do y'all want to do?
I think we...
Y'all want to go? I got to go to work tomorrow.
We got one more.
You're right.
Just real quick.
Brother, do you have something?
Can someone quickly expound upon this, I'm not going to say brother, whatever he is, he's just been appointed about 3 months ago to the civil rights section of the Justice Department.
I don't really...
Only thing I would say that there is no one that could go into this system and bring any salvation to any of us.
That's right.
That's for sure. I mean, if he went in there with wings, okay, he couldn't do us no good because they would kill him with his wings on.
That's right.
Okay? I mean, if he was good, then we need to get with him and let him know that he can only help us outside of this thing. Because I guarantee you, when we finally make this thing fall, we're not going to check and see who's inside.
Check.
We don't have that right.
Can I close this out by giving just a brief historical thing that I did on the situation in Burundi and Rwanda? I would suggest that if in the event that you should have to leave or something, get the magazine for January, February, Africa Report. For January, February 1994, it only cost $5.50. These magazines are just expensive as hell, I'm telling you. One of the most interesting articles that they have in here, and just looking at Africa a little bit, deals with South Africa. And the fact that the young folk is about ready to erupt there as well, right? And that's why certain people have to be let out of jail. And I'm telling you, we ain't the only ones seeing this, y'all.
Okay.
Certain people have to be let out of jail in order to quell disturbances, or certain people have to be pumped up at particular times in order to quell disturbances. Case in point. Now, I didn't write this, but I know South African brothers, and they said the same thing. Sister Lena and I know some from Chicago State, and they're part of the PAC. They ain't no ANC, and they said the only reason that they're not saying anything about Nelson Mandela is because it's a cultural thing with them. They do not criticize them openly. Right. So they wait. And I told them, with us here, at the rate that we be getting our ass whooped, and these people don't want to move out the way, if they ain't careful, we're going to run them over in this season of change. If they don't get out the way, we're going to push their ass out the way. It's just that simple. And I ain't saying that it's necessarily old folk. Because I'm saying there's some young folk out there that's got to have dirt put in their damn face. Right. It ain't got no age on it. It ain't got no hair color on it. It ain't about light skin, dark skin. That shit don't matter. It's about right and wrong. Period. There ain't nothing else involved in this. Look, they say here, since the unbanning of the ANC, the youth have been actually pushed aside. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Exclusion.
Feels familiar.
Exclusion has bred anger and made them a potential menace with the capacity to commit indescribable crimes against their own people, quote unquote. Mandela is sharply aware of the, quote, potential menace, unquote. Or did he mean to put menace to society? Okay? It explains his call for the qualifying age for the vote to be lowered from 18 to 14. To give the youth something, you can't give nothing but a vote. Look, they're going to say, because it's very short, it says to bring them into mainstream politics and let them basically, my words, die with dignity. Starve to death with dignity. Mandela knows that if the ANC is seen to be collaborating with the oppressor, those demanding the resumption of armed struggle are going to prevail. Already, as ANC National Executive Member Jeremy Cronin has observed, many township radicals suspect that the ANC leader is a ploy, a, quote, Manchurian candidate, Brother Ken, unquote. What's a Manchurian candidate, Ken?
Movie came out talking about brainwashing people to certain high places of government office or to use as a tactic.
Example.
Example, Lee Harvey Oswald, Brian Sirhan.
Or
The guy who killed John Lennon.
Or
Nelson Mandela.
Or
the guy
Waco. Yes, the guy down in Mexico. If you look at these people, they all have something in common. They all like. They don't know nothing. It's like their minds have been wiped clean. And if we had time today, I would get into it because there's an article in the New Nexus that just came out. It will blow your mind. What's it called? What's it called? What's it called, Bob? Oh, here it is. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. It's called the Terrorist Factory. By the way, Deborah Craven is going to Morocco, right? That's where the Terrorist Factory is located, where people are brought in, deprogrammed and reprogrammed to serve in every faction of terrorism going on the planet.
Real quick. In the book, Reagan Trilateralism and the Neoliberals, they talk about just what you're talking about, Holly Scholar. They talk about how the youth in South Africa were going to rise and how the Ford Foundation under Franklin Thomas issued a report in 1984, I believe it was.
Yeah, I think about 1984.
About around that time, that stated that they needed, because of the youth rebelling, they needed to bring back a responsible leader like Nelson Mandela, and they mentioned him by name.
But you know what, Robert? You know, there's not Mars, Eric's trying to recruit us to go to camps overseas.
One last little piece here. They say they fear, this is the youth, they fear that the real Mandela was murdered by his jailers and replaced by a pliant prisoner of the same build and looks, programmed to preach pragmatism and moderation. Now, the situation in Burundi and Rwanda is one of Belgium usurpation or manipulation. That's right, by way of the UN. The UN, or Belgium, was placed let me give it to you off my card so you can understand the flow here. Let's flow, all right? I did some of the stuff that I found, and I thought it was realistic. I did this on a haphazard kind of basis. So it ain't totally complete, but it'll give you an idea. The main problem is one of class/tribal differences fostered and furthered by the anti-humans, both black and white. However, we're talking about the Belgians here, the beast, where the beast is really located. We're talking about the Belgians here who were put over that particular area by way of the UN or its predecessor. Yeah, right. Or its predecessor, the League of Nations. Just to give you some background on it, Rwanda has a population of 7.5 million. 90% of Rwanda is Hutu. 9% is Tutsi. Okay?
So like the talent of 10.
That's right. You got 60% of the Rwanda is Christian, and they are primarily an agricultural economy. They make coffee, or they grow coffee, sweet potatoes, bananas, and beans. They were a former German colony from 1890 to 1916. Both Rwanda and Burundi became property run by Belgium by way of the League of Nations mandate. They both gained independence in 1962. Governed by Juvenal Habyarimana, who basically came from an influential middle-class Hutu family. He studied medicine. He then became Army Chief of Staff in 1963. He became the Minister of the National Guard and the Police in 1965. He led a coup against President Kayibanda 6 months after he got a cabinet appointment from Kayibanda in 1973. He then sought ties with the beast, and he was re-elected for the third time in 1989 to a 5-year term. Now, Burundi has 5.5 million people. 84% of them are Hutu, and 15% is Tutsi. The Tutsi, though, although they're an overwhelming minority, they control the government and the army. The reason that they do that is the same reason that the NAACP/Urban League/Push/all these organizations are always trotted out in front of you as your leadership without your acquiescence. Let me ask you a question before I continue. How many of you voted for any of this leadership in place now?
John Jacobs,
Let the record state we had one hand up. Victor, you don't count. Right. But the point being, if these people are in fact leaders, who appointed them in that position? Because I have no vote on the NAACP, so I don't know. I'm not responsible for who that leadership is. The point being, all of our leadership, be it social, political, religious, across the board, should be nothing more than an expression of the wishes of the people that they claim to serve. And they should not be mouthpieces put up there to propagate a particular opinion or religious preference.
Check.
Yeah, one last point. Until June 1993, when Hutu Melchior Ndadaye won the first ever Democratic election, he was murdered in a coup in October of 1993, and he was subsequently succeeded by Cyprien Ntaryamira. In Burundi, nickel is still stolen by guess who? You catch on real fast, Ken.
Yeah,
but the people growing up, to basically feed themselves. Coffee is the main cash crop. The important point is that tribal rivalry was non-existent until the Europeanization and the undermining of the social structures in Burundi. For instance, that's right. For instance, Hutus and Tutsis had intermarried up until the Europeans came. There was no problem. Cyprian Interiamara fled Burundi to Rwanda in 1972 during the Tutsi massacre of the Hutu. He came back in 1983 to a government spot in the foreign ministry under President Melchiorre, or in Dadedeya. The names are just...
That's right. We're all, honestly, we're all embarrassed that we can't say it.
Yeah,
yeah, right. Yeah.
After the murder of Dadedeya, 100,000 people died while 1 million fled. This is a key point. His death warrant was basically sealed on February the 5th, 1994, when he called for repatriation. That would, understand, that would have put the Tutsi, who are already in a very bad light, that would have put them in a situation where they would have to compete with people who had been gone for some years who had gained education. So that they could then come back and put them out of yard.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Check.
Such that that's the primary reason why you got all that infighting over there. But behind all of this is the continued subjugation of African people by way of CIA operatives, because one of the main players outside of both of these two, one of the main countries, is Kenya, which is a CIA pit stop that nobody will never tell you nothing about, because people don't want to discuss the incorrect behavior with African people. And we do have a lot of it, not just there, but here as well. And we got to deal with it, whether we like it or not. Let me, on behalf of Brother Mbanna, thank everybody for coming out and offer Brother Mbanna and anybody else some last words.
Brother Niama, why don't you do that first?
Well, again, I want to thank everybody who has come out and participated. I would hope that we begin to focus on real issues as people. Understand that the day of reckoning is near. And you must ask yourself the question, since we are only few in number up here and you are few in here, and information that's been presented, many of you are familiar with, some maybe not so. But why is it, since someone threw out the coin phrase CIA, like we supposed to run and hide from the CIA like we don't know you already being watched and or attacked? That should not fear you. True liberators are not afraid to die.
That's right.
Because if you do not stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. In conclusion, you are dangerous not because of who you are as a people. You are dangerous because you are unified, and the words that come from your mouth do not attack the superstructure of this world. It attacks the foundation which white supremacy, colonialism, and imperialism are built upon. And once you attack the foundation, when you attack Columbus, you attack the foundation. You destroy everything that America and Amerigo Vespucci put together. So expose the beast, the Antichrist. The scripture tells you there's many Antichrists. You must look at the many Antichrists in order to find the Antichrist, because he's alive in your midst. And further than that, I tell you this from the scripture. We're going to suffer tribulation and hardship. But when you pass through the waters, you're not going to be drowned. And when you pass through the fire, you're not going to be burned. But be mindful of the fact that only the righteous among us will endure to the end. The wicked will perish and fall by the wayside. Be he Caucasian, or be he Israelite or Hebrew.
Go ahead, brother.
Amen. Amen.
See everybody? I like that. Ever since I hang around, Brother Mbanna, I've learned a great deal, a lot. I really appreciate that. I'd like to thank y'all for coming out.
Speak up, brother.
Appreciate
Speak
the
up.
support.
Stand up.
I'm short, so
stand up. Tell us some books.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do, I am. Thank you. Beat me to the punch. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try to share some sources, give a few sources. Brother Brian Mwatta Harrison mentioned a book earlier The book that he was talking about is called South Africa, Time Running Out.
Okay.
This is the report of the Study Commission on U.S. policy towards Southern Africa. The president of the study, the one who's headed, was Franklin Thomas. He's the president of the Ford Foundation. The Ford Foundation is interlocked with the CIA, and Rockefeller Foundation, the various other trusts and endowments, etc. Now,
what can I do for
okay, I got this book from Powell's bookstore in Hyde Park. It was used books that I picked up. It's in Powell's bookstore, I think on 57th Street, more than 1400 East. Okay, by the Illinois Central Station. Okay. Here's another book called Dirty Books 2: The CIA in Africa. In here, it mentions on page 56. It talks about how the African American Institute was created by the CIA, and the African American Institute puts out the Africa Report magazine. Okay, that you had mentioned earlier. Okay. Right here. On page 56, it says right here, it says that this Negro by the name of Harris, James Ted Harris, is a black CIA agent. It said Harris moved on to join yet another CIA creation, the African American Institute. At the AAI, he directed field programs traveling frequently to Africa. In here also mentions in the book Dirty Books 2, The CIA in Africa, it mentions various CIA operatives that was in Burundi and Rwanda. I'm going to mention some of them. Some of the CIA operatives that was in Burundi. Okay, I'm trying to block your way. Okay. Oh, I got you. Sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sit down. I'll jack you up. All right. On page 496, it mentions some of the CIA officers. A few of them were John C. Bean, Martin Bergen, Richard Chapman, David Dennis, Richard Green, David Hammond, Howard Judd, Richard Martinell, Philip O'Connor, Kenneth Walther, Richard Tomaso, Joe Tickner. Now, I'll move on another page, because this book details many of the CIA operatives that were operating within Africa and other places. Let me see. Oh, yes. Got to give the other one, okay? Rwanda. Two of the top CIA operatives that were working in Rwanda. They're Harbaugh, H-A-R-B-A-U-G-H, and Wesley Kinsley. Now, this book goes into a lot of detail and talks about how they use various scholars, like maybe the Center for Inner City Studies, certain groups that gather intelligence for the U.S. government, for the State Department. And what they do is they come up, they have various foundations and trusts that give them funds, etc., like the MacArthur Foundation, Chicago Community Trust,
Hold it right there.
Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation.
This is, everybody knew what the fee was, right? Everybody know what the fee was?
$200.
Look, the fee was $5. However, if you don't have it, we always say, don't worry about it. I'll make up the difference. I'm broke, but I'm going to leave here broke, so for me it ain't no thing.
Okay.
So anybody who want to put in, if you want to put in more of that or whatever, no problem.
Okay, the book, Dirty Books 2,
This, oh, by the way,
was published in 1978. So,
this is out of respect for Brother Mbanna, who brought his family all the way up here from Springfield, who, I don't know if you noticed, but he ain't got no damn handicap. Some people say that he's blind, but the man is not handicapped. Am I correct, bro?
Why'd you say that?
Oh.
They're going to cut off my Social Security check. I almost survived.
Okay. I got a few sources. That's it. A few more books. That's it. Hey, no. I'm serious. I'm in control here at the White House. Dirty Books 2. I got this from a used bookstore, Dan Becky's bookstore. You still at 2500 North Lake. Dirty Books 2, the CIA in Africa. Okay, you do it from Dan Becky's bookstore, about 2600 North Lincoln. Okay, here are a few other books. Get Pipe Dream Blues, Racism and the War on Drugs by Clarence Hussein, use the Rifle Covert Information Bulletin. Get The Urban Plantation, John Stoger, Mel Reynolds, Carol Mosley Brown. The Urban Plantation by Robert Staples, Racism and Colonialism in the Post-Civil Rights Era.
Yeah, you know they're planting potatoes in Cabrini for a bit.
Oh, really? I wasn't even aware of that. I'm going to have to go over there and do what? Visit. Here's 2 of the books. The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. Okay, has a plan here called the Master Plan. The Chancellor, pick up this book. It's an excellent book. And then the last book.
Last book.
Okay.
Last book.
The last book.
I know it back quite.
The last book. I love you too. The last book is by Ackland Lynch, Nightmare Overhanging Darkly. And it has a blueprint in here, blueprint for social change in here. It's really excellent. Those are just a few books that I like to suggest.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, I'd just like to thank y'all for inviting me to share my piece. Like I said, I'm the baby of the bunch, and I just appreciate being up here with older brothers and sisters.
Older?
Well, I mean, not as in elderly, but just older and
Like
plenty of
Ron
us.
School up here.
That's right.
Social Security recipient.
Nothing like that. But, you know, because, like the sister said, just by you being here, you have knowledge that I don't have. So it's always important to come here and learn and be humble and take what you know, what's given to you. And I really appreciate that. And I hope this won't be the last time that I come to Chicago. It is my first time, but hopefully it won't be the last because I really enjoyed it. And y'all stay strong and keep fighting.
I just want to say myself, I really appreciate everybody that showed a lot of patience because we got here a little late and everything, and y'all showed a lot of patience. It only shows that the beast ain't as bad as he thought he was. I mean, all of us, we all got a little piece of information here, piece of information there. But it's like my grandmother, she used to collect little pieces of cloth. And I used to say, Grandmama, now why do you be collecting those pieces of cloth? And she'd say, boy, why don't you just shut up and wait and see? And man, it got real cold one night in the wintertime. And Grandmama came with all those little pieces of cloth, but she had put them all together and turned them into a blanket. And it was a nice night that night. So everybody with all the little pieces of information, I think we have weaved the blanket of knowledge. And now we leave here tonight, we ain't the same folks we was when we got here. That's right. And I just want to tell you, tomorrow marks our 5th anniversary of coming back on the air. And tonight, being with y'all makes it all worthwhile. Brother. And Zelango to you.
I would like to see more of this, and I think everybody here would like to see more of this.
Yes.
So when will we have another round table discussion?
That's the old man.
Here's what I said we was going to try to do.
More of this, MOR.
May 21st, 1994, Saturday, 3 p.m. When is that? What's that?
That's the date you want.
Yes, sir. Listen, by the way, to show my appreciation, I don't think that, just some more of my little stupid philosophy. When people do things for me, I feel indebted to do it twice for them. Brother Victor has been opening his bookstore here for us for a long time now, and he hasn't asked for one nickel.
Yes, he has.
I told him that. I told him that whatever he did here, and I hope he made $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. I hope everybody buy tape, the best tapes I've ever heard. If you think I'm lying, our people know, because they buy the tapes. More information on them tapes than probably anybody else outside of Steve Copeland's tape that you're going to get, I assure you. But Brother Victor has allowed us to come into his store. I know about the extortion attempt by some folk and all that kind of stuff. So I've already said that May the 21st.
Who is those folks?
Well, I'm not getting into that right now.
Well, you better name them, brother. You better leave me today.
May the 21st. May the 21st, to show my appreciation for Brother Victor, I'm going to give a thing here for Brother Victor where if I charge $5 a person, if I charge $3 a person, okay, let's say $3 a person, all the money that we collect, no matter what it's for, will go towards buying books out of the bookstore. We will then have a raffle for you to raffle off the books. That's our appreciation to Brother Victor. And I think, I think that those kind of things in terms of bringing our people closer together, because there's this big so-called schism between West Side and nothing with none of them. Brother really should have been on the panel. Brother Uriah should have been on the panel up here. But we got our signals crossed up so there won't be another round table when Brother Uriah ain't up here. Okay? And, well, brother, tell them what we got coming up for the Sunday, brother.
It's going to be going on, y'all. Sisters at the real table.
That's right.
And who
we want to host the sisters at the real table, brother?
Hey, I got to tell y'all about a sister that I ain't mentioned her all night.
That's right.
And she think I'm going to let her get away. But my wife.
Right, that's right.
A lot of folks talk revolution, but that woman there, she done had bullets coming in her house. She done had her children kidnapped. In fact, Brother Mbanna, my son, was arrested in the middle of a grocery store this week for shoplifting. In the middle of the store. I thought you had to pass the point of purchase.
That's right.
In order to be accused of shoplifting. Standing in the middle of the store. And you know, a lot of sisters say, I'm tired of my babies being harassed because you and your big ass mouth. No. Sister almost got us all in trouble with her big old mouth. So when we come back and we do the sisters at the real table, Robert says she said she gonna do it. And Sister Lena and Leah and all y'all.
Oh, and by the way, sister, if you want to sit on the real table, I invite you to sit on the real table with the sisters.
But be real. No, I'm joking.